If I had 5 minutes with your neurologist, 5 minutes, that is all I would need. If I could sit down with your neurologist for 5 minutes before your next appointment and ask two questions, I genuinely believe that your care would look completely different walking out than it did when you walked in. And today I want to tell you what those two questions are so that you can ask them yourself. But first, let's kind of set the stage for why those 5 minutes matter so much. Most of us who have migraines, if we've had them for any length of time, you get that neurologist appointment, you're all excited, you go in with massive hope, right? You've been dealing with migraines for years, sometimes decades, sitting across from someone who has, the word specialist attached to their name, and you're thinking, this is the person who's finally going to help me figure this out. And what happens in that appointment is not nothing. They listen, they take notes, they go through options, and then they write a prescription. And you walk out with something new to try and a follow-up appointment, typically 3 months later. And some of those medications, sure, some of the medications reduce the pain. I want to be really clear about that. When you are in the middle of a level 8 migraine and something gives you relief, that does matter. I'm not dismissing that, not even a little. But here's the gap that I see every single day. And the women who come to me after years of those appointments is nobody's asking why. Nobody sat across from them and said, we are going to figure out what is actually driving this in your specific body. Not what we're going to give you to manage it. What is causing it? Why does it keep coming back? Why is your body trying to tell us that something is wrong? What is your body specifically trying to tell us that we haven't been listening to yet? That conversation, it almost never happens. And it's not because the neurologist doesn't care, right? It is not. I genuinely believe most of them really do care. It is because the system they work inside of does not give them the time or the framework to have it. You get 15 minutes, sometimes less. And 15 minutes is enough time to assess your symptoms and adjust a prescription, sure. But it's not enough time to map your entire inflammatory picture, to understand your full history, to look at your hormones and your gut and your nervous system and your stress load and your sleep and the car accident that you had 12 years ago that your body never fully recovered from. There's just not enough time in that room. So here are the two questions that I would walk in with if I had those 5 minutes. First question, what is your goal for me? Not what medication you're trying next. What is the actual outcome you are hoping for? What is your neurologist hoping for? Ask them, hey, doc, what is the outcome that you're hoping for me? Because if the answer is anything other than, I want you to eventually not need this medication, I want you to get to a place where migraines are not running your life, then chances are you're not aligned in that destination. And if you're not aligned on the destination, you're just managing the journey with no intention of it ever ending. So the second question you should be thinking about is, do you have a plan for why? Not what to prescribe if this one stops working. Why does this keep happening? What is driving this? What are we going to do together to actually find out? Those two questions, they shift everything. They move the entire conversation from what we do give, to you. What is the neurologist going to give you? To what do we find out? It moves the question from management to actual resolution. From this is your condition to this is what we're going to figure out together. And here's, kind of what breaks my heart a little bit. The women who come to me have usually seen 5 neurologists, sometimes even 10. But they have been neurologist hopping because this one didn't help and this one didn't help and that one didn't help. And some of them have even seen the best specialists in the country and gone to pain clinics to meet with more than one neurologist. And almost none of them have ever been asked those questions, not once. They've been handed prescriptions, had them adjusted, tried new ones, added more, sometimes even nerve blocks, all of that kind of thing. And then at some point been told that this is just the nature of their condition. After Botox stopped working, after the thought of nerve surgery, they've kind of been told this is just your life now. The great thing is I don't believe that. I have never believed that. And what I believe is that every single woman has a specific set of drivers behind her migraines. And those drivers, they're findable. They are workable. And when you address them in the right order, in the right way, and personalized to your specific body, things change. That is why when someone comes to work with me, we do not do 15 minutes. We spend a minimum in the very beginning, just the initial, before we even work together, we spend a minimum of 45 minutes together. Honestly, as long as it takes to go through everything. What have you tried? What worked? For how long? What were the results you got? What stopped working and when? What does your body feel like on a good day? And what does it feel like when everything falls apart? And most importantly, what do you actually want? Not what do you want to avoid, but what do you want your life to look like on the other side of this? What does freedom mean to you specifically? Because that goal, that clear and specific vision of what your life looks like without migraines running it, is what we build your entire plan around. That is the conversation I wish every woman could have with her neurologist. And since most of them do not have the time to offer it, I created the Migraine Breakthrough Assessment so that you have it with me. It's completely free. It's 45 minutes minimum, and it is the conversation that nobody else has ever taken the time to have with you. The link is in the show notes. Come and let somebody finally ask you why.